Hello, my name is Eddie Gonzalez, and this presentation is an Anheuser-Busch InBev, also known as AB InBev. The goal of this project is to analyze Anheuser-Busch InBev in financial terms, as well as their brands, management, and news surrounding the company. AB InBev is a transnational beverage and brewing company whose headquarters is in Leuven, Belgium. AB InBev's goals are to grow their global brands, generate more excitement around beer through their specialty and premium brands, raise the perception and relevance of their core beers, and enhance their consumers' experience by providing more choice. This includes no and low alcohol content beers. AB InBev was formed following the acquisition of American brewer Anheuser-Busch by Belgian and Brazilian brewer InBev. InBev was a merger between AmBev and Interbrew. Interbrew was formed in 1987 from a merger of Belgium's two largest brewers, Artois and Piedboeuf. AmBev, short for Beverages Company of Americas, was created in 1999 with the merger of Brazil's two largest Brazilian brewers, Antarctica and Brahma. Anheuser-Busch was established in 1852 in St. Louis, Missouri. In 2004, Interbrew and AmBev merged, which created the world's largest brewer, InBev. This deal brought together their biggest beer brands from Brazil, Belgium, Canada, and Germany. Then in 2008, InBev acquired Anheuser-Busch, which created Anheuser-Busch InBev, which is the company is known as today. Before this acquisition, InBev was already the world's largest brewer, and after this acquisition, AB InBev cemented themselves as one of the top 5 consumer product companies in the world. Their most recent merger has been in 2016, where they bought SAB Miller. This deal was for about $100 billion US, and this left only Molson Coors Brewing as their main competition. This acquisition became the largest ever in Britain, and this merger allowed the company to become the world's largest consumer staples company by earnings and provided them with their first real entry into the African market. The management team for AB InBev is led by Chief Executive Officer Carlos Brito. Carlos is a Brazilian citizen who received his MBA from Stanford University. Before joining InBev in 1989, he held roles at Shell Oil Company. He was eventually appointed CEO in December of 2005. His annual salary is $1.6 million plus stock options and bonuses, which equated to about $5.17 million. Next is Felipe Dutra, who is AB InBev's Chief Financial and Technology Officer. Felipe is a Brazilian citizen who joined AmBev in 1990 from Aracruz Cellulose, a major Brazilian paper manufacturer. At AmBev, he held various positions in treasury and finance before being appointed Chief Financial Officer in 1999. The third manager is David Almeida. David is a dual U.S. and Brazilian citizen who is currently the Chief People Officer as well as Chief Sales Officer. He has held a variety of sales, finance, and business positions at AmBev until he finally settled into his current position in 2011. The rest of the management is designed by having zone presidents for each continent or geographical area that they have operations and sales in. These zone managers report directly to Carlos Brito. AmBev's annual report for 2017 reported a 5.1% revenue growth, a 6.7% profit growth, with 16.8% combined global brand revenue growth. This was made up from 4.1% of Budweiser, 12.8% from Stella, and another 19.9% from Corona. The Latin America South region had the largest volume growth with 5.9%, while the U.S. region saw a slight negative volume growth for the region. According to Value Line analysts, they suggest that AB InBev may be a slower return on money due to its recent merger, but suggest that the Bud stock investors to be patient. From Yahoo Finance for the month of March, 3 analysts claim that it's a strong buy, 1 said to buy, and 5 rated it as a hold. The 3 global brands that Anheuser-Busch InBev have are Budweiser, which is made up of both Bud Light and Budweiser, Corona, and Stella, with Bud Light and Budweiser being the brand that accounts for the largest portion of their sales. Anheuser-Busch InBev is ever expanding and currently owns over 400 beer brands. Their beer is sold in more than 100 countries. Some of their major brands in the US are Michelob Ultra, which is one of their faster growing brands, Natural Light, Busch, and Goose IPA. They also brew Jupiter, which is the #1 beer in Belgium, and Beck's, which is the #1 beer in Germany. AB InBev has also been acquiring microbreweries around the world to expand their presence in the IPA market that has grown rapidly over the past few years. Their brand presence across the world is very big. In the United States, you can easily recognize Anheuser-Busch InBev's brands due to their extensive advertising, from their infamous Dilly Dilly Bud Light commercials to commercials of sipping Corona on the beach, and to their large billboards that can be seen across many sports stadiums. Anheuser-Busch InBev's main competitors are Heineken and Molson Coors Brewing Company. When looking at the company's market shares, Anheuser-Busch is far ahead of their competitors, owning 28% of the global beer market, while Heineken owns 9% and Molson Coors has 5%. In the United States alone, AB InBev owns about 45.8% of the beer market. Anheuser-Busch InBev's ticker is Bud and is currently trading around $107. Its 52-week high is $126.50, and the low is $101.21. Anheuser-Busch InBev has a market cap of $215.8 billion, and has about 2 billion shares outstanding. Their last reported PE ratio is 27.11, with an earnings per share of 3.97, with a relative PE ratio of 1.25. When compared to their growth, they have a PEG ratio of 0.91, which is decent. The beta is 1.04, so it just about follows the volatility of the market. A big attraction for AB InBev stock is its dividend. It has a trailing annual dividend yield of 4.05%. They are heavily invested with a large presence in emerging markets such as Brazil, Mexico, and China. They are currently the #3 beer brand in China, and it is estimated that the per capita beer consumption in China is 34.2 liters, and they have a population of 1.36 billion people. As you can see, there is large room for growth in many countries that AB InBev is involved in. When looking at their competitor, Molson Coors stock is around $73, with a 52-week high of 97.5 and a low of $72. Their market cap is $18.8 billion, which is significantly less than AB InBev's. Molson Coors' PEG ratio is 1.47, which is not very good and about 0.5 higher than Anheuser-Busch's. Molson Coors also offers about half the dividend with just 2.25%. Looking at the 5-year stock price of Bud versus Tap, both have grown steadily. With small declines in the past year or so, Bud also saw a steep decline in its stock price near the end of 2016, but has recovered slightly. 2018 is looking like a slower year for both companies, but is expected to get better. When looking at the table comparison, Molson has an earnings per share of 6.53, while AB InBev has an earnings per share of 3.97. Both had similar return on equity percentages, which are both on par with the industry average. The book value per share of AB InBev was 37.4, and Coors had a much higher one with 61.4. Anheuser-Busch InBev had a very superior 5-year dividend average with 3.00, while Molson Coors comes in at 2.01. When comparing the betas, Anheuser-Busch InBev is riskier but offers higher returns with still being around the base of 1. The companies both had a similar bond rating according to Fitch's ratings, with Molson Coors coming in slightly lower. Anheuser-Busch has been greatly affected by exchange rates. In 2016, Anheuser-Busch was in the negotiations to purchase SAB-Miller for £44 a share. After Britain left the European Union around this time, the value of the pound dropped drastically, and the deal became more favorable, so it would have made the purchase cheaper for Anheuser-Busch InBev. This caused SAB-Miller to rethink the initial offer that Anheuser-Busch InBev offered, and they had to end up paying £46 per share. This ultimately was still a lower sum than the original offer, so the foreign exchange was in their favor for this deal. Unfavorable foreign exchange rates and rising expenses had led to some disappointing results in the stock of late. But in 2017, the fluctuation of the foreign exchange currency rates had a positive translation impact of 601 million US dollars on Anheuser-Busch Bev's revenue, which is better than it was in 2016. The US dollar accounts for about 27.5% of all its revenue. The Brazilian real came in second with 14.5% of its revenue, the Chinese yuan with 7.5%, and the Mexican peso with 7.0%. Meanwhile, the euro, where the headquarters is located, accounted for just 5.5%. Recent news by Donald Trump electing to place a 10% tariff on all aluminum imports has put some threat to Anheuser-Busch InBev's profits. Because about 50% of all Budweiser sales are beer bottled in aluminum cans, this could cause about a 3% increase in the price of beer to combat the increased production costs. This is expected to affect multiple beer brewers. Anheuser-Busch InBev has set sustainability goals to be reached by 2025. The company has come out and said they see these improvements not as a cost, but more as an investment. Their goals are smart agriculture, improved water availability and quality, also to have 100% of their products to have package that is returnable or made from a majority of recycled content. Their last goal is to have 100% of electricity that is used from renewable resources across their locations and to have a 25% reduction in CO2 emissions across their value chain. In the end, should you invest in Anheuser-Busch InBev? Considering the company's info and financial analysis that has been stated prior, I would recommend Anheuser-Busch InBev stock, mainly to its beta being around 1, so it's not a large amount of risk involved, and it has an attractive dividend that is paid out 2 times per year. If you are patient with this stock, it will remain in positive returns.